big bugs down here. We brought that one with us there. Want some water? Does anybody want a drink of water? Sure. Oh, where is it? As long as you don't spit in it, I don't care. Well, now that you're sitting out there all expectant like, we're probably going to have to say something now. Wasn't it a nice day? Yeah, it was. I didn't get to spend much time, and I just wanted to know if y'all had a good time. If I was going to be miserable, I don't want the rest of the world to. But it is the kind of day, I just got to thinking about that, it's the kind of day where you're just real glad that you ain't the only person in the world. It's the kind of day you need people to share things with you. You feel good that you know there's somebody else out there seeing the same thing that you are, and somehow or other it makes both of you feel bigger. At the same time, you kind of feel smaller, but I got nowhere to go with that, so we come down here to share something else with you, though it's just a little story. Here we kind of talk about a place called home, and you know where that is. See, we don't have to tell you that. But we'll sing you a song about our home, sorty. And you probably will even know where that is, too, but we'll sing it anyhow. Sometimes it goes like this. Tell me, where do you come from? Tell me, where will you go? To them mountains around you. Oh, them cities of gold. Cities of gold. Cities of gold. Oh, so lonely and so cold. You can lose your very soul living in the cities of gold and the land of a million secrets, and that land that gave us life, it gives up all its treasures, sadly hides its face and dies. Them cities of gold, cities of gold, oh, so lonely and so cold. You can lose your very soul living in cities of gold. But won't you listen to the music flowing sweetly through the air? They're the songs of our fathers and our mothers. Oh Lord, ain't you glad they're still here? 'Cause them cities of gold, cities of gold, oh, so lonely and so cold. You can lose your very soul living in cities of gold.
Ma used to say that they didn't think she'd ever get married. And I was nigh unto 21 years old when I did. Why, I'd never thought much about getting married. Besides that, there wasn't that many men around. It seemed to me like they was worth having. But now, Henry, bring me a chair up here.
Yeah, better get a chair.
Yeah, you get her a chair. I've got started.
What are you a gigging bugs back there or what?
We got us a relationship going back here.
I'm going to tell these people about Henry. Henry was a friend of my sister's boyfriend. The first time Henry ever come to the house, now, he didn't come to see me, he just come along with Charlie. And I don't reckon we even talked much, or me even a-thinking much about him till after he left. And Dory, that's my sister, Dory got to making fun of him, saying he is homely. Well, I got right mad, just told Dory to mind her own business. Well, they started a-teasing me, saying he is my sweetheart, and I struck on him. Well, next time Henry come to the house, he come a-courting. Now, my daddy was a preacher, and he married us, give us a set of dishes to start out a housekeeping with. And I've still got that old platter. Mommy give us a feather tick and some quilts and 2 wool blankets that she had weaved herself. And just before we got ready to leave for the south of the mountains, she called me to one side. She give me a $50 gold piece. Told me to save it to a time when we'd need it. Well, that $50, it helped get me and Henry started. Helped us buy our first piece of land. But together, me and him worked out everything we got. Now, I was bigger than him, and he wasn't so good looking. But I never one day regretted marrying him, and if I had it to do over, I'd do it again. He was a good man.
Right there. That's been the start of many a story right there. Ma and Pa. It don't matter who Ma and Pa was neither. Ma and Pa meeting up, getting married, starting them out a brand new family in this world. Now that there is a kind of special thing. And this here little old story, well, it may not be special, but it's about one of these here families.
Now, when Ma and Pa first bought that place on the creek, it was all in woodland.
Yeah.
Big timber all around. And outside of what was put in the barns and buildings, well, they just cut that timber down, piled it, and burned it. There's log piles burning day and night for weeks at a time all over the country.
Tell you what's true. The skies at night, it'd be lit up red all over from them logs burning out there.
Now that's what went with a lot of the timber in the mountains. It was cut down all right, but just a lot of it was cut down and piled and burned.
And that went on continuously too, boys. Yeah.
Well, about 2 years, all you could get out of a new ground. Then you had to drop back and clear up another. That went on and on.
Well,
like that.
until though, see, your land run out.
Yeah, and there wasn't no more to clear.
Have these big workings.
Yeah, there'd be as high as 20 people show up for one of them big workings.
Go out in a field to do a hard day's work.
Pulling stumps like that.
And them people never expected 1 penny for helping each other.
No, not a red cent.
No, sir. What they done, see, what come the end of the day there, them people would just, they'd fix dinner on the ground for each other like that.
Yeah, now usually, remember, there was a gallon of liquor they'd pass around there at the end of the day.
That's the truth. Just about all that country up there around where we was live, it gets cleared on chicken and dumplings.
And corn liquor.
And corn liquor.
And we had all kinds of dances and parties.
Had them corn shucking.
Bean stringing.
Had them there molasses stir up.
Big log rollings.
Yeah, big log.
They get a lot of work done, too. But mostly it is just an excuse to have a dance afterwards.
They'd clear all that work up out of the floor, drag down a fiddle, and get get down to some serious dancing now.
All these fellas would go at it all week as long as that moonshine held out. Fiddle and banjo music, sourwood mountain, hey, the old of a little of a day. Turkey in the straw all night long.
Son, it's on fire now.
So are we.
Yeah, well.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. I'm a dancing fool. Especially with a little liquor in me and a pretty gal like that on my arm. I don't know which one I like the best. Yeah, I reckon I do too. I spent plenty of time now looking for both of them. When I found me a woman that drunk, honey, I was home.
Everett, this dancing fool over here, was my firstborn, and Thaddeus was my last. Two different youngins as you'd ever want to see, and I had 6 more besides them. Thank God I never lost a youngin like so many women done. Now, Everett weren't hardly no trouble at all, and I was just so glad he had all his arms and legs and such. It seems like with the first one now, you just worry more about things like that. Now, Henry's ma, she come in and helped me. 3 days, I was up working around the house. Now, I'm one of these that never could stand to lay in the bed if there's work to be done. And there's always plenty of work. Now, Everett was as normal a youngin as you'd ever want to see. till he is about 2 years old. When that first fit come over him, I thought it was the fever, but he wasn't hot. It passed, and he didn't have another one for about a week. Now, I had seen people take fits before, but oh, I didn't want to believe that's what it was. But it was. I doctored him just the best I knew how. But it wasn't no use. They just kept right on a-coming. About all we could do for him was just get to him real fast so he wouldn't hurt himself when he fell or swallow his tongue. Now, he did go to school for a while, but it's awful hard on him with them other young'uns, and law, it scared that teacher. It never changed his manner, though. Matter of fact, he got into more devilishness and trouble than any other one of my young'uns. He had all kinds of friends. They'd just go off places regular together. His drinking worried me, though, more ways than one, because he never knew when one of them fits is going to come over him. But the summer before Pa died, he stopped having them. Just like that. He never had another one. Now, that was the summer that Thad's boy was born.
That's my oldest boy.
And that's the summer I joined the church.
Well, yeah, now we had church once a month, and most everybody all around would come to that.
Now, there's church somewhere every week, but most of the time it's just too far off for people to go.
Most of the time what it actually was is it give them old preachers a chance to go off to them new places and use the same old sermons. That's what it done.
Yeah, your grandpa used to go off in Kentucky, Tennessee. Why, they wasn't a Sunday past that he didn't preach somewhere.
Well, of course, now, people wouldn't work on Sunday. No, not to save Sabbath day and keep it holy. Unless maybe you get your oats down in the field and it come up a rain, I reckon you could go gather them up in. I don't know.
Well, there wasn't much else to do on Sunday.
Wasn't much.
I guess that brought a lot of people out to church.
Now, there'd always be a lot of people out to church.
Yeah, they would.
And at memorial meeting time, why, people had come from everywhere.
Yeah, they'd ride their horses around south of the mountain, tie them up in the woods back there behind the church. After church, Grandpa, he always get up and he'd say this little old speech. He'd say, now, if there is any Youngins that wants to go home with me and have dinner, you're welcome. And there's a bunch of them that go, too.
I'll tell you why. Grandpa set one of the finest tables in the country.
Mostly due to Grandma.
Yeah,
Mostly due to Grandma there. People would go up to Grandpa's house and they'd have food set out there under the trees, you know, get out under the shade, get them old sawhorses and lay them planks out there. You could get down there and sight down that thing. Lordy, there's a half a mile of tater salad lined up. Yeah, and then when they get through eating their dinner like that, them people, Grandpa had a big corn crib down behind the house, always full of corn. And people go right down to that corn crib, they take out the corn, what they needed to feed their horses too.
Yeah, Grandpa, he not only fed their soul.
Fed their soul.
But he fed the people. Fed their livestock too.
You can't ask a fella for more than that.
Now, joining the church, why, it ain't never helped nobody. You're just exactly what you are when you come out of there as you was when you went in. Every tub has to stand on its own end.
Amen.
And being baptized is answering of a good conscience. Now, they do preach. If you ain't changed before you're baptized, then you don't need to be baptized in the first place. Some people think you can't go to heaven unless you are baptized. Some people think it don't make no difference. Most people believe what they want to believe, and the majority of them believes what suits their case.
You know I can smell my mama's fried chicken. Sunday after church, folks all stopping by. Cornbread and sweet taters, biscuits and gravy. You know you could eat, Lord, until you die. And they're so heavy in the sweet summertime. You can smell the lilacs half mile away. My granny is swinging, singing, old Rock of Ages. Angel band carry me away. Cumberland Mountains, home sweet home. Old mountain memories won't leave you alone. Sitting on the riverbank, fishing pole in your hand. You know it don't matter if those fish don't bite. That river keeps a running, that old sun keeps right on the sunning. It's everything you need to make your life worthwhile. Peaches in the summertime, apples in the fall. If you can't get the girl you want, don't get one at all. Oh, sweet Jenny Lynn and that old Molly hair. It's bound to make your feet move as they flow through the air. Cumberland Mountains, home sweet home. Old mountain memories won't leave you alone. Oh, Cumberland Mountains, home
now maybe I know there's a lot of youngins in the crowd, and there's some other people as well. Some people might not understand when Ma was talking about them fits there. I think it's necessary.
Don't you start.
Well, what he had, see, it was epilepsy. That's what they call it now. They got a name for just about anything today, I tell you. Well, honey, they got medicine you can take for anything today, too. They got medicine for that there epilepsy. You can take it. It may not work, but you can take it. I reckon, they ain't never found no cure for that stuff all through the year. I guess these things in this world, it don't change.
Well, now, there wasn't no such thing as running to the doctor every time you had a little pain.
Why, even if you could get there, there wasn't that many doctors around.
Ma had every one of us youngins at home.
Yeah, now, God, she used to tell us about it regular like, too. Yeah, you get you over in the corner and get right down and look at you. I never told you it were easy, young'un.
But I done it.
She done it.
We got by on yellow root, willow bark tea.
They're slippery elm, and we used that balm McGillicuddy salve for them sores young'uns used to get.
Yeah, now them herbs, they's real good for lots of them things.
They work.
But now there's some things, you know this, now there's some things got their own particular cure.
I reckon so. That's the way it's supposed to be, I reckon.
Yeah, how about that time you got the cure? You found out about that, didn't you?
Well, I reckon I did. It's all right for you to laugh. I was the one suffering. I had me a toothache's what it was. That's what he's talking about.
We all had toothache.
Well, yeah, sure. We all had toothaches, yeah. Sure we did. But I'll tell you, the only reason that God ever created this one was to kill me. That's what it was. And I suffered with that thing longer than most people could have stood. But I decided, like he said, I had to get me something done about this toothache.
There's old man Daniel McFall. He run a blacksmith shop.
Uncle Dan lived about a half mile down the river from where we lived.
Had a big long beard. That thing must have been about a foot long.
And Uncle Dan also had him a pair of them tooth-pulling things there.
People called them drawers.
Oh, God is right. They wasn't nothing but a big pair of wire pliers. Had these kind of cow horn things Uncle Dan had welded on the end of them. Hell, that made him a dentist, I reckon. So I'd heard that he'd been pulling teeth, and he said he was pretty good. They told me he was right good, so I figured I'd go see what it was.
Yeah, now you had to be tough enough to stand it.
I thought it was. So I started trying to get him to go down there with me to get my tooth pulled.
God, I didn't want to go much.
Yeah.
I agreed to go with him and hold his head.
So I didn't know about that head holding part. And I found out more about it than I ever wanted to when I got down to Uncle Daniel's.
Daniel, he lived in an old log house.
Had what they call a drop porch. You see the drop porch. You just kind of, you get it, step out of the house, and you just drop off into the yard.
I sat down right there in the doorway.
And I got over it like I was supposed to. They told me I laid my head down in my brother's lap like he was going to be.
I got a good firm grip on him. Old Daniel, he got up them tooth pulls.
Well, wait a minute. So I opened up my mouth and I showed him.
Daniel clanked down on that tooth, buddy. He went to work.
God! That was about the slowest working old man in the world. And I laid there and I took it for the longest time. Oh, but, buddy, I finally started. I wasn't going to take that no more. And I started to fight. And I tried to get my way loose from her. But the more I tried to get loose, the tighter he held me down.
Yeah, the fast old Daniel went out of that tooth.
Yeah, but they made one big old mistake with this boy.
We didn't tie his hands.
I didn't know what I was going to do. I looked up, laying there in my suffering and pain. And all I could see was this big old long beard. Hanging right down in my face. I reached up with both hands. And that old man with that big old long beard of his, boy, gives him a yank just as hard as I could rip right down towards me, you know.
You talk about letting somebody loose.
That old man let me go. You know what? This is the truth. This is a fact. And I don't know what happened there that day. I think he broke my tooth loose and drained that old stuff out of there.
I think he scared that toothache out of you.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Whatever it was, tooth never bothered me no more out of that.
Got cured?
Got cured.
Work's what you do in this life. Enough of this old foolishness.
Yeah, enough of that.
Depends on who's looking at it.
Work's what you learn. It's who you are. You work to live. Now, I worked from the time I was big enough to help out, and so did all the youngins. Put food on the table, clothes on your back, and a roof over your head.
Now, when I was a youngin' growing up, I was a thinning corn before I was big enough to carry a hoe.
Oh, my God. If you can count to 2, you can thin corn, I swear.
Well, you had to leave 2 stalks and pull up the rest of them. That's what he's talking about. It was a big help. I see now it was a big help.
You worked. It was as simple as that, and everything you done, you see the results of it.
Paul used to tell us boys, he must have said it 100 times. He'd say, boys,
yeah.
Now you learn a little bit every day. A few years, you're bound to know something.
Now, corn was the staple. Why, I don't know what we'd have done without it. And I reckon somehow everybody could grow a little corn.
See, they clear them up a big old new ground and
As long as they had new ground.
plain in a patch of corn.
You fatten your hogs on corn.
Fed your chickens in the wintertime.
And you fed your horses and your cows, too.
You not only fed your livestock, but you got your meal. And you could take a big old kettle of white corn and make hominy out
Boy,
of it.
I love my mom's hominy, too, I do.
Yeah.
You'd use ashes to husk it with, and then you'd wash it up real good and clean.
It'd come out just pretty and clean.
It's as white as snow when you get through like that.
Boils down to one thing. You could make do with just about anything there was, but without corn, now you couldn't have made it.
Cornmeal gravy, it'll make you fat, but it won't make you lazy. Talk about that old thing down on the farm. Wheat, black-eyed peas, and collard greens, they'll fill you up and they'll keep you clean. Talk about that old thing down on the farm. I said it. London, England, Paris, France, ain't nothing places stand a chance. Talk about that old thing down on the farm. I don't care about Betty Crock's gold medal, ain't nothing no better than mamas like Kelly. Talk about that old thing down on the farm.
Hit one. You get better all the time.
I know.
Rabbit stew and squirrel gravy drive you wild, won't make you crazy. Talk about good old things down on the farm. Fried squash,
Fried baby.
Fried corn,
fried taters. Talk about good old things down on the farm.
London, England, Paris, France, ain't nothing places stand a chance. Talk about good old things down on the farm. I don't care about Betty Crock's old medal, ain't nothing no better than mamas like Kelly. Talk about good old things down on the farm. Now you try.
Still with me?
Yep.
And apple pie and blackberry jam make me sweet as I am. Talk about good old things down on the farm. That old wild turkey and wild corn make you glad that you was born. Talk about good old things down on the farm.
Said London, England, Paris, France, ain't nothing places stand a chance. Talk about good old things down on the farm. I don't care about Betty Crock's gold medal, ain't nothing no better than mamas like Kelly. Talk about good old things down on the farm. I said, talk about good old things down on the farm.
I love people with good taste.
forget it. I ain't gonna say it. But you know, something about this time I found out, come kind of as a surprise to me. I found out that everybody did not live the way that we did. Yeah, it was a kind of a shock to all of us, I think. Not only was there people in this world that lived different than we did, there was people right around home started moving off the farm. Got them jobs of working in them there coal camps or something or other like that, you know. But now my pa, you couldn't get pa off the farm and dynamite, boys.
He worked for Ritter Lumber Company at one time.
Yeah.
But as far as leaving home to work, now he never did.
Man, he'd take a peddling load across the mountains into Kentucky, into them coal camps once a week, far back as I can remember.
Yeah, he'd take eggs, chickens, just anything he could buy and sell.
But now, of course, you need to know, he didn't get all of that there stuff off our little old dirt
But
farm.
if we had anything off the farm he could use, now he'd sure take it.
Yeah, he was a combination peddler and a farmer.
See, what it was, when Pa would go in them coal camps over there, them people would give him scrip money for that produce he
Now
did.
that scrip, that ain't real money. That's that old coal company money.
But it was just as good as real money, I'll tell you.
Not hardly.
Well, you could take it over to the company store, and you could swap it like for meal or flour or sugar, or maybe a Reese cup.
Yeah, he'd bring that stuff back across the mountain with him.
But he'd always try and get some real money, so he'd have something to buy some more stuff to trade with.
Yeah, when me and Thad was growing up, we used to go out all over the country, buying up frying chickens and old laying hens, and we'd bring them back in.
Yeah, and whenever anybody in our family was to catch them like a rabbit or a possum.
Well, just anything like that.
Well, you could just about sell anything to them people living in coal camps. They was hungry. But I'll tell you what happened. It got so bad. It got so bad. Them people started having to skin them critters out, you know, and leave a foot hanging.
Now, don't you be telling that old stuff.
What?
That was the law. That was the law.
I'll tell you why you had to leave a critter. See, them our peddler fellers got to selling them people in the coal camps cats. That's what it was.
Yeah, so you had to leave a foot hanging on the critter so you know whether it was a rabbit or whether it was a hog.
Yeah, instead of somebody sold you a big old fat tomcat.
I guess when you're eating it, it's probably too late to tell the difference.
Your pa used to say that he never did have to go out and look for work. Somehow it just always managed to find him.
Yeah.
My pa was always full of stuff like that. Yeah. And he's right. There was more work than for 10 people to do, but there wasn't no such thing. There's no job, like I talked about a while ago, until the WPA come in, until we started getting some of them coal mines opening up that way, you couldn't make no money at all.
Well, now before that, you lived off the land.
Well, you lived or you died off the land.
Well, no, I never heard of nobody starving to death.
Well, God, you wouldn't listen
Well,
real close.
There's plenty of people that went hungry.
That's right.
Didn't have everything they wanted
That's right.
by a long shot. But I never knowed of nobody starving to death.
That's right. As far as money was concerned, now, son, that's just something you heard about. There wasn't hardly anybody had any money.
Well, I'll tell you both. When I take you all, I don't know how it was that there's a lot of people survived them times. I'll tell you that.
Well, they raised what they eat.
Yeah.
Put up everything from fruit to hay.
That's what we eat, too.
Now, we raised Irish taters and sweet taters, and we always kept a cow.
I don't remember that we got us a whole lot of milk out of her, did we, huh? Huh?
Oh, we didn't feed her on nothing but a few little old hard nubbins.
We didn't have nothing but a few little hard nubbins.
Well, that's enough.
But people got by.
Yeah, that's what they done. Got by.
I don't reckon there ever has been a time that if people would work, that they couldn't have something to eat. This old farm birthed my father, raised my children, bird my man. It's as much a part of life I remember the winter of '42, wind so cold, thought we'd freeze. Then springtime brought the sunshine, warmed the ground to plant our seed. This old farm birthed my father, raised my children, buried my man. It's as much a part of life as breathing. There's nothing more precious than this land. Say this old farm ain't good for nothing. Long as I'm here, there's land and me. When I'm gone, the land will still be here to raise and feed another family. This old farm birthed my father, raised my children, buried my man. It's as much a part of life as breathing. There's nothing more precious than this land.
I was a great big old boy before I ever did leave off the farm. But I left. Leave? Nothing. I was a great big old boy before I ever been further away from the house than the outhouse. That's the truth. First time I ever went anywhere is me and Kurt Vanover. Kurt was my buddy. You know, you got a buddy? Well, if you was like Kurt, you're in trouble, son. Kurt was kind of wild. That's why I liked him, you know. My grandpa, he had these two old gray mules. Matt's set of grays. You don't see many gray mules like that. Matt said, called them Old Jack and Old George. That was their name. Me and Kurt stole Old Jack and Old George. So what we done, I got on them old mules and rode them things lickety-split all the way to Clintwood.
He had to go down there to Clintwood to get them little old books for school.
Yeah. And I don't know how we got there and back without getting killed on top of that. I never knowed there was so many automobiles in my whole life. And I got neither did Jack and George.
Why, if a car come by the creek once a week, oh God, it's a big show.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of them things out there in the Clintwood, and boy, they just zipping backwards and forwards. And he's talking about me going for to get my school books. See, I had went to school over to the Horsburn Gap, and I passed through the 7th grade into the 8th grade. That's when I had to go down to Clintwood to get my new books for to go to school. See, I was going to start the school at the Bear Pen. Bear Pen was a big school down there, boys. Yeah, there's all 3-4 rooms of school in the Bear Pen down there. Youngins come from all over the countryside to go to school, and on the first day, I was one of them. I sat there, had my new reader. I got down there to Clintwood, had me a number 2 yaller pencil, Paul Sharpener special for me that morning. Before I went out, Paul said, I'll just do that for you, son. Them pencil sharpeners don't care whose money they eat. Sharpen my pencil for me every morning. Well, there I was. And there I was. And I never did quite figure it out exactly how it was. I mean, what with everybody living right there, with this, like I thought we was all much the same, but no. There's some of them people, I reckon, they started calling me names. Called me country. Only they said it like it was nasty. They made fun of my clothes, made fun of the way I got my hair cut. Catch you coming across the schoolyard, you'd be going across the schoolyard, and where everybody could hear them, and where everybody could see you, they'd say in the holler, say, well, look yonder, boys, look yonder coming. I do believe that's old Raggy Taggy. There's people in this world that think they're better than other people. And there's people in this world that think they're better than other people because of the clothes they wear. Would you like to tell me how in the hell a pair of breeches makes one man better than another man? But they believed it. And finally, I just decided, God, I didn't have to put up with that. I did not. I may have not had some of the things that them other people have, but I'll tell you one thing I had that they didn't have. I got me. And I've done just exactly what I had to do. I quit. That's right. I didn't have to put up with that. I was 12 years old when last day of school I ever went.
I hated to see him quit school. I wanted all of my youngins to get an education. This one just never had his heart in it. And it always seemed like the one that would take to it. Well, he could read before he ever even went to school. Now, I don't know how he learned it, but he did. It seemed like he cared about things that others just didn't much think about. He always liked to dress up and get new clothes. I remember him asking me one time why them little old wool mittens I knitted for him was always gray. Couldn't he ever sometime just have some blue ones?
First time most fellas in the mountains ever was away from home was to go to that CC camp. That's a conservation course. There's a lot of fellas went to that. Now, I didn't go myself, but now a lot of fellas did go. You had to be 18 to join up. But now this and here, he got in when he's 16 years old.
That's right. That's right. I went down there, tried to join up. They wouldn't let me in. I just kept going back and telling them a new birthday every time. I was 18 about 4 times there. That's a fact. That CC camp, it just seemed to me like it was a place for me. I didn't have much to do, and I was ready to go somewhere, and it looked to me like them boys was going somewhere. That right there is just about the biggest adventure I ever had in my life. And it just shows you how exciting my life has been up to then, honey. I never will forget it, though, going off to the CC camp. Never will. We started out, is over yonder Bristol. Yeah. Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee. Yeah. Anybody ever been to Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee?
Somebody has. Yeah, 2 of them.
Uh-oh. Watch out there. There's some wild people in the crowd.
Yeah. You never know what might happen after you've been to Bristol.
Bristol, Virginia. The reason I tell you, Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee, the reason they call it that, now you need to know this for you ain't been there. See, the state line runs right down the middle of the street.
Now, I see that.
You see that.
That's State Street.
That's what you call it.
I call it bootlegger's heaven. What I call it.
Yeah. See, on the one side you got Tennessee, and on the other side you got Virginia. You know, think about that. I always did sort of like geography myself, and so I was standing down there puzzling on that. I just took it up in my mind. I got, I'll just move over into Tennessee and live for a while. Life didn't look a hell of a lot different from Tennessee. So I went back to Virginia. At least I was home, But then there's some boys come down to visit there. They saw me standing down there, thought I wasn't doing nothing. So, you know. Said, come on, let's go. We're going to the movies. Yeah, said, come on. I was ready to go to the movies. He's
ready to go anywhere.
That's right.
Where he's ready to go.
I wasn't ready for what happened next, though. Got down to that place, and there's a woman there. Made me pay a dime to get into that thing. And when I got in there, I knowed right away that they'd done stole my dime. There wasn't nothing in there. There's just a bunch of row of seats like there was right there. And just kind of bunch of people staring out there into space. And I figured to myself, well, you're going to do a lot of this to get a dime's worth out of it. But that's okay. I also figured, God, my pa didn't raise no boys to be fooled. I couldn't sit here as long as any of the rest of them. Got me a seat over there by the aisle, you know, sort of up near the back like a good Baptist ought to. And about that time, of course, you know what happened, but I didn't know what was going to happen. The whole front end of that thing lit up. Honey, I was to the outer lobby before they caught me. Made me come back in there and sit down. And I sit down, and this here movie picture come on. Here's a bunch of cowboys and Indians. Remember I told you about that. And it was a kind of interesting thing to see. These Indians had these cowboys kind of pinned up in a little old tent-like thing. Had these big old long spears, you know. There's a running and a jobbing at these old boys, you know. There's a run like this. And them old white boys were just going, woo. Just jumping all over the place there. They wasn't jumping near as much as I was. That's the truth. Now I'm going to tell you something here. I'm going to tell you how green I am. It didn't bother me. I thought that them there Indian fellas was really trying to kill them there white men right there in front of my eyes.
Buddy, I'd like to see that.
Well, yes, well.
When he come back from that CC camp, he's all the time going on like that. All them big stories.
Well, no.
Big stories, all of them.
See, that was true.
All of it? Yeah, that's what I figured. Part of it's true. Yeah, talking about all them things he'd said, you know, about all them clothes and fancy cars and stuff. Now, the first car I ever seen, that was one that Ted Swindle, he brought in there, got down to South Carolina, and brought it in there. There wasn't no more sled roads in there then. Ah, God, we had us a time. Had a time with that automobile. The only trouble with it was, see, you had to keep putting gas into it. There wasn't no place to get gas. Down at Clintwood, now Clintwood, that's 15 miles one way, and you could run out before you got back. There's many a night we'd be coming back from court and around south of the mountain there, late at night. Run out of gas. Just get out and just leave her sitting there. Dudley mobile on it. Sometimes it'd be 3 or 4 days or maybe a week before we get gas and go back and get it. Just always seemed to me like them our automobiles was just about as much trouble as they was worth. That's right.
You know, after we got up that big CC camp, you could go to the movie every Saturday night.
Now, if you had the money.
Yeah, I only got $5 a month.
Now, they give him $5, they sent $25 home to Ma.
Yeah, and I got it looked to me like that I was the boy doing the work, too. That's all right. Sent 25 to Ma and give me 5 for, like, this pocket money, they call it, you know. Didn't stay in my pocket long, boys. I tell you, you could buy your smokes and your shaving gear, and I quit that. I couldn't afford that. And every now and then you could go out and get you maybe like a Pepsi, something. I liked Pepsi stuff. I did, even before Coca-Cola got hot after them, you know. Well, the Pepsi and a bag of peanuts, you can just about make a meal. You think about it. That fella down there said, "Oh, I wish I had me some right now." I do. That's right. Get you a big old hit off of that Pepsi and pour you a big old bag of Planters peanut. Don't get them redskin things. You'll choke to death on them. You go down gasping for them, boy. Make a meal out of it. And then besides that, there's all kinds of things for a fella to do with some loose pocket change. Go to movies. They had books to read, card games. Tell you what was just about the most exciting thing that I ever found now is that when I heard that their first radio. The first, you could turn a knob and bring the world.
Except for Uncle Dave Macon and some of them other fellas there on the Saturday night offie, they wasn't nothing on them radios worth listening to. I'd rather hear my hounds run.
Yeah.
Boy, fox hunting makes a lot more sense than that radios. All you need for fox hunting's a good dog. Place to lay down out in the woods. A lot of people now may not understand about fox hunting. See, that dog, he needs to run that fox, because that's what he was born to do. And that fox needs that dog to run him too, so that he can stay in shape. Now, about the most a body can do is just sit back, just learn to appreciate that relationship.
Yeah, Lord. $5 a month, and I thought I was rich. Money will make you dumb. You think about it. I'm telling you, I got to thinking I was rich on $5 a month. I used to go just get my little piles of money. I'd sit there on the bunk and I'd line it up. And move it over here. Try to figure out what all I was going to buy with that stuff there. See, I was sitting there one day on the bunk. I was sitting there, I was moving that money around, and I had me a thought. Actually, I believe it was an idea. Come to me, though, just as clear as the bell right out of the blue, said, now, son, you can buy stuff now that you don't even know what it is. I'm gonna buy me an automobile, get me a job with some time to kill. Give me one of them women, Lord, them curly Q eyes. I'm gonna change my style. I'm gonna throw away my old work clothes, quit picking my teeth out, quit picking my nose. And I'll give me one of them Colgate smiles. I'm gonna change my style. Hey boy from the country is what you may see. There's gonna be some changes in me. Gonna try a new dance, sing a new song. I ain't got it long till the old me is gone. I'm gonna smoke them ready rolls. Give me a suit of them sirs and wear back clothes. Yeah. Give me some of them shoes, you know, like they make out of them alligator hides. Alligator. I'm gonna change my style. Hey boy from the country is what you may see. There's gonna be some changes in me. Gonna try a new dance, sing a new song. It won't be long till the old me is gone. I'm tired of eating soup, beans, and cornbread. I'm gonna eat steak till my face turns red. Well, the devil may be waiting, but in the meanwhile, I'm gonna change my style. About the only trouble with that there CC camp, see, he could only enlist for 6 months at a time. And then I had to come home. Well, I didn't really mind coming home. I pouted for about a week, though, just to keep them on their toes. Home was always a good place for me. But I'll tell you what I did mind. At home, there wasn't none of this here electricity stuff. And at home, There wasn't no books. There wasn't no movies, and they sure wasn't no radio. And I know what happened to my money. My ma done socked her away somewhere, and there was no way that I was going to get to it, and there was no way that I was going to make 1 cent more as long as I was living up yonder in the south of that mountain. I know it.
I don't rightly know when things started to change. They never did for me, really. Saw all of my youngins marry off and leave, except an Eb. But even before then, things just weren't the same. Now, I never liked the idea of my youngins moving off. They're going to work in them coal mines. But there wasn't nothing I could do about it. Once they knowed about all them things they didn't have, it's too late. Now, we worked hard. And not one of my youngins ever went cold or hungry for lack of clothes to wear, food to eat. Nah, we didn't have much. But we always had plenty. It's not what you've got. It's what you're satisfied with. Now, I know children's different from their parents. There's things that they want that I don't even know about. Nor care to. But I guess that's the whole thing. You know what you know. It's kind of like that little story about Adam and Eve. Now, it wasn't the apple that got them in trouble. It's what they know after they eat it. And they ain't no turning back from that.
This part right here is what we call your free time. Just because you got a little freedom, don't go making a fool of yourself. You only got 10 minutes to do it anyhow. And then, if you don't get too caught up in being that, whatever you're doing, you come back in here and we'll just tell you the rest of this here story.